Some children's hospital nurses say they feel betrayed. The hospital has pulled away a benefit that convinced many of them to work there in the first place. Colorado's county clerks beg every elected official to come forward and tell the truth about elections to fight misinformation.
The garbage that they're being fed is just that. It's garbage and lies.
Denver Health serves everyone who walks in their doors. They're struggling to keep up with an increase in visits from migrants. And after 7 years, it's time to put our Friday Good News tradition on ice. We're not dropping it. We're putting it on frozen water. It's cold out. Get cozy. It's time for Next. Nurses say they were tricked by Children's Hospital, hired with a promise that their grad school tuition would be covered by the hospital, only to get told this week, not happening. They told our Steve Steger they're faced with the choice to quit or go deeply into debt.
I think I go back between feeling like really frustrated and then just being upset and a bit tearful.
Children's Hospital Colorado nurses and behavioral health specialists have been filling my inbox today.
It just seems extremely unfair and immoral to pull something like this.
All asking for anonymity out of a fear of losing their jobs.
There is always a risk of retaliation.
But no less ticked off.
This is our future and our career and our motivations at stake here.
They all got this communication from the HR director at Children's this week, letting them know a program the hospital established last year to fully fund graduate degree programs is no longer going to fully fund graduate degree programs.
And then they heavily leaned on it during the hiring process. They were like, you could have your master's paid for.
Children's was still advertising tuition-covered benefits on its website today. In May of last year, they boasted in a news release about being the first pediatric hospital in the country to offer tuition coverage as a benefit. The notice from HR this week says enrollments in that program were higher than expected, and it got too expensive.
You literally offered a piece of gold to people and expected them not to take it.
Leaving a lot of these frontline healthcare workers who were already partway through a program facing a tough choice.
Once I got the email, I had, a mini panic attack and started calculating, and it's going to be at least $35,000.
So this isn't really about being upset that we're not getting a free handout. It's that we made decisions that pretty profoundly impact our current circumstances as well as our future. And without a conversation, that was retracted.
Children's Hospital wouldn't interview with us about this today, but in a statement they told us this is part of a routine assessment of their benefits, and they didn't make the decision without serious consideration of various options. They did point out that they will still pay up to $5,250 each year toward employee tuition, Kyle, but the problem is a lot of these programs cost a whole lot more, and a lot of them were very specific. Some of these nurses told me we wouldn't have done this program had it not been paid for.
I mean, in that case, people have upended their entire lives based on a pledge or a promise that evaporates.
Yeah, and they're hoping that Children's Hospital might consider kind of grandfathering some of them into this program, paying for the tuition for the rest of the way out, maybe cutting some of the benefits for newer employees if they're going to do something like this. Children's today told us they're going to stick with that $5,250 each year.
It's a really interesting story. They do incredible work, so you just want people to be respected. I know folks are not seeing you on Next as often these days. You're doing a lot of this consumer investigative reporting for 9 News through Steve on your side, so people can keep an eye out for that. If you run into an issue, you want Steve to look at it, shoot him a note.
Yes.
You aren't hard to find, like Coach Prime.
Steve at 9news.com, yeah.
All right.
Hard to find.
Thanks, sir. Today's snow is going to be difficult to forecast. We talked about that here last night. The models were all over the place. And sure enough, the snow's kind of held off in Denver while other areas are getting it pretty much right on schedule, Lauren Robinson. So what are we thinking for tonight?
And I appreciate that introduction there. Difficult to forecast
This one was particularly tough, right?
Yes. And Denver still hasn't seen any snow, while other places have seen up to around 6.5 inches. We're seeing those higher totals off to the west and south, but Denver has been under a little bit of a dry spell so far today. Now, right now we have a live look out in Glenwood Springs. I've been using this shot all day. Is this not beautiful? I feel like this is from a movie or something. Well, they got a few inches of snowfall there. Still nothing at DIA. Cloudy though, chilly, 34 degrees. We have winds coming down from the north at 9 miles per hour. It feels like 27 out there. Now, we do still have several winter weather alerts that will be in effect. We have winter weather advisories, all of the teal, that's going to be central and northern portions of the high country, as well as the southern half of the Front Range. In addition to that, we do have a winter storm warning for northern El Paso County. This area is going to see around 3 to 9 additional inches of snowfall, winds gusting up to around 45 miles per hour, creating that blowing snow, reducing your visibility out there and causing hazardous travel conditions. Now, we're going to see those higher totals to the south and west of Denver. You can see Denver not under any alert, as well as the rest of the northeastern corner of the state. And that's where we've been seeing dry air just kind of sitting over the northwestern corner of Colorado. That's been giving us a dry afternoon here in Denver, but we are watching for these snow showers that are in the high country and foothills to eventually make their way into the metro area. We've been watching those snow showers all across the western slope into the high country, as well as the southeastern corner of the state. And as we go through the rest of the night and into tomorrow, I think we could see still a couple inches of snow on the ground in Denver. Those higher totals again off to the west in the high country and south across the Palmer Divide. I'll have more details on what we can expect with our temperatures in my 7-day forecast just ahead.
All right, Lauren, thanks. Denver's again making room in some of the city's newly converted hotel shelters for people who need to come in out of the cold overnight. The former Best Western and Doubletree hotels, both on Quebec, will be open overnight, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. today, tomorrow. Buses will be transferring people from downtown to those shelters each night. Hospitals, including Denver Health, say that they are struggling to handle a drastic increase in visits from migrants who are in need of medical care. Doctors with Denver Health say that they have seen an increase in emergency room patients lately from Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Honduras. About 800 people last month, compared to just 200 same time last year. While they don't have confirmation, they think a lot of these folks are migrants who have come to town. Denver Health says they don't have health insurance, they don't have primary care doctors, so the ER is where they end up.
So this will be largely uncompensated care. As a result of their status, it's difficult for these families to find work, which is actually what they really want to do, is find work and reestablish a life.
We should point out, Denver Health is a safety net hospital, so it treats patients regardless of insurance status. Back in September, hospital leaders were telling City Council they were on track to provide more than $100 million in uncompensated care in 2023. Our next conversation tonight is with the head of Colorado's County Clerks Association, Matt Crane. The county clerks who run Colorado's elections sent an unprecedented note today to every elected official in the state. It calls on them to denounce election rigging lies. Matt Crane and the clerks use some strong language for leaders who are remaining silent. Cowardice. What do you mean by cowardice?
Very simple. I and other people involved with the Clerks Association, other elected clerk and recorders, have heard from other Republicans in elected positions that, hey, thank you for what you're doing. We agree with you, but we can't stand up. We're afraid to be primaried. We're afraid of the pushback. But now is not the time for cowardice. Now is the time for people, if you know the truth, step up and tell the truth.
You are an elected Republican clerk. The majority of Colorado's county clerks, given the rural nature parts of the state, are Republicans.
As is our executive board. The majority is of our exec board is are Republicans.
What do you make of where the Colorado GOP has gone on election denialism lately? Not simply suggesting that there's something funny going on with elections, but the head of the Colorado Republican Party told a white nationalist podcaster that Colorado doesn't have any fair elections.
Mm-hmm. I think the irony of that is that when he was elected multiple times under our election model, he never once said, you know what, we should do another election. We should do a redo because this wasn't fair. He took his wins, but it's only when his preferred candidate loses, and that's what's so very dangerous.
The Colorado Republican Party responded on social media today saying that they don't care about the clerk's letter. Our conversation continues in a moment as we discuss escalating rhetoric about civil war that's coming from the head of the Colorado GOP. We're also going to talk about the violent threats being directed at elections workers. So there is a secret to getting great customer service from Xcel Energy. All you have to do is call Marshall Zellinger. A customer who suspected she was paying for her neighbor's electric was right. And after Excel gave her the runaround, Marshall got involved, and now this lady's getting reimbursed for 2 years' worth of overbilling. Marshall, I don't know how you do it. You work full-time for 9 News, and it appears that you're putting in at least 15 to 20 hours a week doing customer service for Excel.
Well, because I have this sitting at my desk and I can learn a lot about how electric meters work and whatnot. I got to get this back to Excel probably at some point. A meter like this was plugged into the incorrect wires at a townhome complex in Highlands Ranch. Joanna Benning has suspected she's been paying for her neighbor's meter since she moved into her condo in 2021. She came to that conclusion when her bill was high despite being on a months-long cruise on 2 occasions. Excel told her that she needed to hire an electrician to figure it out because the problem was on the customer side of the meter. After our story last month, an electrician who happens to be a neighbor checked the meter for her.
This was the meter that was supposed to be mine. So he lifted up this little door and he turned off this switch. And then Annette's, my neighbor's, electricity went out. So then we went to this one and he turned it off. And then we went into my condominium and my power was completely out. At the time, this was my meter, but I was being charged for that one.
Joanna does not yet know how much she overpaid over 2 years, but she said Excel should get her that refund next week. Next, viewers, Judith and Travis, you wrote in after the initial story and figured out how this would get figured out. Next to the meters are dog tags that have printed the condo unit number that they're supposed to be linked with. Once it was confirmed that Joanna's meter had the wrong dog tag number next to it, the dog tags were swapped, and then Excel got these meter numbers reprogrammed in both of their accounts, and that is now how Joanna is going to get correct billing, and her neighbor, whose bill is probably going to go up because she's been paying Joanna's lower bill this whole time.
This is beyond customer service. This is public service stuff. I'm telling you, man, Excel should send you a fruit basket.
Hey, Excel's real name in Colorado is public service.
Hey, maybe they should be more interested in it. Marshall, thank you. One thing that we hear over and over from the migrants that we talk to in Denver these days is they just want to work. They'll say it again and again. They don't want handouts. They want to work. They want to be able to provide for their families. But the paperwork to get work authorization can be complicated and time-consuming, as in like 6 hours worth of an immigration attorney's time. Since Wednesday, your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign has raised $27,000 to fund legal aid clinics to help migrants get to work. The Newcomers Fund, run without administrative fees by Rose Community Foundation, is helping to set up those legal clinics now. They estimate that there are more than 5,000 migrants who intend to stay in Colorado who could qualify for this. Right now, they have enough funding to help some, but not all of them, get work authorization. Again, they get this paperwork, they're good to go. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to join me and a bunch of others in donating. This is about helping people go through the legal route to work, not keeping them sidelined or working in the shadows because they can't afford that legal pathway.
So I'll be damned if I'm going to step back and let those people be successful in undermining everything we believe in as Americans.
Colorado's election clerks see powerful people pushing dangerous lies, trying to undermine democracy in 2024. Cold night, long week, perfect time to curl up with some of the good news in our neighbors' lives. Joy is in the headlines here, next. The clerks who run Colorado's elections, Republicans and Democrats, see a dangerous change in the rhetoric that is coming from the state Republican Party. The kind of words that can stoke violence. Back to our next conversation with the Clerks Association's Executive Director, Matt Crane. Colorado's Republican Party chairman also warned about a coming civil war if so-called election fraud is not stopped. The idea of people hurting or killing each other over this, that's not a hypothetical for people who work in elections right now.
That's right. What an incredibly irresponsible and disgusting statement, especially when it's based on a lie, and he's helped perpetuate that lie. We need people to step up and start telling the truth, because, election officials have been dealing with this for a few years with threats against election officials. We've seen secretaries of states in other states have people show up armed at their houses when they're home with their family and their children. The threat of this is very real. And again, it's all based on a lie. And those folks who are lying for political or financial advantage. They are the cowards. They are the people who are undermining our constitutional republic, our democracy, our Constitution, everything that we believe in as Americans. They are the people dishonoring it.
At what point, because of the physical threats and the rhetoric, is it going to be hard to find people willing to work on elections or volunteer for elections?
Well, and it's not just, it's not just the threats to clerk and recorders. We've seen it to our poll workers, our election judges as well, where they've been doxxed or people try to get a hold of them and ask them to do nefarious things. We're not going to let these bad guys win. We're not going to let these grifters and bad actors undermine everything that we believe in as Americans. People have fought and died for this right, so I'll be damned if I'm going to step back and let those people be successful in undermining everything we believe in as Americans.
Matt Crane from the Colorado County Clerks Association, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
In our full conversation, Matt Crane and I also discussed the Colorado GOP's failed attempt recently to get Colorado's 2023 election results rejected, like last month's election. You can see that conversation in full on the next YouTube channel or on 9news.com.
Earlier in the show, we talked about all of the snow that is currently across Colorado and when it should push its way into Denver, as well as timing and totals. Now let's focus a little bit more on temperatures, because we're going to be very chilly overnight. We're looking at teens and 20s across the eastern side of the country, single digits and even sub-zero lows all across the high country, teens out west as well. And then as we take a look at our 7-day forecast, we're going to see a chilly afternoon tomorrow. Even after the cloud and snow moves out, we're going to see sunny skies, highs in the middle 30s. Sunday and Monday, we warm up quite nicely. And then as we go toward the middle of the week, we're going to see those temperatures right around mild to seasonal range, in and out cloud cover through the rest of the week.
My good news is that I'm a big sister.
I mean, yeah, we could tell you about one more frustrating thing that happened in the world this week, or we could end the week as we always do, with joy. Next. My daughters went to Disney on Ice recently, came back grinning. I hope you are too, after this edition of your Friday Good News on Ice.
We are in the heart of Denver. Obviously, some people call it Times Square of Denver. Seems like a bunch of kids are excited. It's a Friday, feel good. Everyone's excited to get out on the ring. My good news is that I just finished the quarter up, so that means I am now allowed to have fun, guilty-free. You know, I feel like usually during school session, every time I have fun, I'm like, dang, I should be studying, I should be doing some kind of homework. But now, you know, there's the Nuggets game, also good news, so I'm gonna go see that, have fun, guilty-free.
My good news is that I'm here in Denver celebrating Holly's birthday.
We have people from all over the country, all over the world coming in, visiting family and friends, seeing Denver for what we have to offer.
My good news is that I'm a big sister.
My good news is waking up in the morning, pain-free, get to come here, watch all these wonderful people skate.
My good news is that I'm at the Thespian Convention and I've gotten to know everyone here, all these girls, so much better, and I'm having so much fun.
Oh, well, they're basically saying that it was their brother's birthday this week and that they're able to celebrate it. They're from Puerto Rico, so they're excited that they get to experience new things that they were never able to experience back home.
My good news is this family of mine that keeps me going nonstop. I'm just loving spending all the time with them that we have and enjoying every second. 'Tis the season.
Isn't joy joyful? An interesting Excel billing question, and Marshall's instant answer tops your feedback next. Ken with feedback on Marshall Zellinger's Excel billing question. He says, can the neighbor who was underpaying now have to pay that bill? According to Marshall, Excel can try to claw back up to 6 months of underpayment. Joan in Westy doesn't like what Children's Hospital did, pulling that benefit from nurses. She said the frontline workers deserve better. She thinks the right decision would have been to discontinue the program for tuition after grandfathering in those who already received it. And Billy is not a fan of my look tonight. He says, looks like somebody watched Miami Vice last night. Billy, you know I have white jackets. I'll do it. Don't threaten me with a good time.